Hello punters, welcome again to another preview of the Saturday racing tomorrow. Once again, four big tracks. We've got Caufield, we've got Scone, we've got the meeting at Doomben, the 10,000 of course is the feature there. We've got the Derby at Morphettville. It's going to be a fantastic card tomorrow. I'm going to release videos one at a time. I'm going to start off with Caufield in this video, and you'll be able to see the meetings of Scone, Morphettville and Doomben in the other videos to be uploaded very shortly. If you're only playing at one of those tracks, you can just go ahead and watch each one. Just makes it a lot easier for you guys at home. So if you're following Caufield, you'll be watching this video. Get your form guides out. Feel free to follow along. Once again, appreciate the support. We had a bit of a rough week last week. There was a few mixed results around the place, but I'm hoping this week can come back a lot better. I think there's a lot of value this week. It's a tricky card this Saturday at a few of the tracks, but I think there's a lot of value to be found. So we're going to go about finding that value for you here. So just to first race of the card at Caufield, it's 2,400 metre race, or 24.06 if you want to be precise. It looks at this stage the track's rated a soft 5. There's a lot of showers around, so just be mindful that the track could get upgraded to a heavy tomorrow. I suspect that could keep happening if the rain continues to come. So just keep in mind that when you're studying your form. I certainly have done that. So a lot of horses with that wet track form obviously appeal out a bit more. But so looking at the first race of the card, the 2,400 metre open race, Grunt standing at Yulong handicap. Doesn't look to be a whole lot of speed in the race. Transac will go forward like last start where won on speed at Flemington. Falar, the New Zealander, will probably be on speed again like it was at Flemington last start. Apart from that, I can't see too many other on-speed runners. The Tasmanian Eastender, don't think that it'll go forward. It usually settles towards the back, but perhaps there might be another runner that goes forward with that lack of speed. But it looks small field here. I actually liked I like number 4 Alpharus for Hayes and Dabinick. I think it's ready to go third up now. Of course this horse was formerly from the UK. It's had some okay runs to start off here. It was 2 lengths off Bell's Choice first up over the mile. Then it came to Caufield, finished 3.6 lengths off Plenciel. I think that form's pretty good. That was, of course, the Easter Cup at Caufield a couple of weeks ago. So I think that form is quite good. It doesn't have any soft form as such. I mean, it's only had the 2 runs on the soft and not placing either. But I do suspect that these UK horses tend to get through the ground quite well. So I think it'll handle it. Craig Williams in the saddle. I think it should just sit just off that speed. If there's a slow speed, I think it can be too good for these. So I've got it on top to beat number 1 Eastender, the Tassie Visitor. Of course, the wet track tomorrow will really suit its chances. I just don't like how it's going to carry 60 kilos. For me, that's a little bit of a query, but I definitely could see it being the finish. I mean, its form's been fantastic. It hasn't missed the top 2 finish in 6 of its starts so far as preparation. So I think it'll definitely be in the finish. And some of those have been in real good company. You look at weight for age races down in Tasmania. Looking at a win ahead of Lamborghini, who was absolutely flying at that point in a Group 3, beat Fabrizio. Of course, Gay Waterhouse's horse at Launceston in a Group 3. That was the Launceston Cup, for a matter of fact. So I see it being in the finish. Wasn't able to put it on top just because of the weight difference between the 2, but definitely see those 2 fighting out the finish. I think number 5 Falar for Stephen Marsh from New Zealand. I think it can improve coming onto the wet track. I think that might help it a bit. Last start at Flemington behind Steel Prince, it was finished 35 lengths off him. Was at the front, just tailed out. It's having a quick backup. Of course, that was last Saturday. So I'm a bit intrigued by that. And I think if it is ready to go, like Stephen Marsh has obviously backed it up really quickly, so it must be ready to go. So I've got it in for third. They get that easy time on the space. Number 6 Transac for Gay Waterhouse. Look, I've got to put it on. It hasn't got the wet track form, which is why I haven't put it high up in the numbers. But it was a good win last start on pace, and it should get all the favours again. So I expect to be in the finish. So just to recap the numbers for race number 1 at Caufield. Number 4 Alpharus on top. In for second, number 1 Eastender. In for third, number 5, Falar, and in for fourth, number 6, Transact. Race number 2 on the card, 1100 metre, benchmark 78. Absolute ton of speed in this race. So for me, I'm looking at a lot of the horses from back in the field. I tipped him last start, number 5, William Thomas. He's got the wide barrier, but I think that he can get it done this time. He was just out sprinted last time by Propel, who goes around in a later race on the card. But I think that second up it'll improve. It'll have that pace to come off again. So it finished off nicely, and Propel came from the back in that race off the hot speed. It just didn't have quite have the sprint to go with it. So I think it'll improve that extra 100 metres this time out. Second up stats are pretty good. Enjoys running at the track. There's only the 2 starts on the wet for the 1 placing. That was soft ground, so bit of a query there of the wet track form. But I think that off the speed it should run a nice race. In for second, I've got number 1, Brian. I think this horse has got some wet track form. It's run on plenty of wet tracks, and last start it was finished by I Am Someone, of course, in the Wangoom handicap during the Warrnambool Carnival. So. And I thought, it only just sort of boxed on okay from the back. Wasn't too much coming on from the back at Warrnambool during the carnival. So I'll take a little bit out of that. And I think coming back to Caufield, loves running this track. So 2 wins and a placing from 3 at this track. So I think it can return to form, especially off this hot pace. So I've got it in for second. Obviously, Justin Huxtable's claim brings it down to 85.5 kilos. I think it'll be in the finish. Number 2, Written Choice. Of the on-speed runners, I think this has got a great chance. Second up stats are superb. 3 starts, 2 wins and a second. Enjoys the track and doesn't mind the soft going either. Was quite good. I thought, got out sprinted at Flemington up the straight behind Vanderpoor. I still thought, I think it can return to form. You obviously look at last preparation at the Valley. It got up nicely there, beating Rod and Todd. So I think it'll be the finish of the on-pace runners. In for fourth, I do have number 8, Acadian, who comes back across from Morphettville. Went over there, ran in the 3-year-old, the niche stakes over there, behind East Indian Man. So I think that form's not too bad. Before that was really impressive winning at Pakenham in a benchmark 84. So it comes back here, back in class, has the wide barrier. So it's a bit of a concern. If it can tuck in, get a bit of cover, it should be able to come to the outside and run a nice race. So I'm expecting it to run nice. He got the blinkers on first time, which is an interesting decision as well. And it has that win on the soft track, Craig Williams in the saddle. So pretty confident with those on top. I think number 13, Del Vecchio, will run a nice race as well. Just worried about that wide barrier for me. The Not Enough Effort form's pretty good. Not Enough Effort came out at Sandown on Wednesday, won impressively again. So no shame finishing behind that. But I think they're the 5 on top for me. So just to recap the numbers, number 5, William Thomas on top, just to come on from the back. Number 1, Brian in for second. In for third, number 2, Written Choice. And in for fourth, number 8, Acadian. Race number 3 is the mile, 1,600 metres, 3-year-old race. Look, Satori's very short here, $2.25. I've been on it twice, this preparation. You always feel a bit iffy on jumping off. Just, you don't want to jump too early. Obviously, it's going to have to carry the 60 kilos this time around. But I think it's still the best horse in the race. And I think it's going to get a good run. The horses drawn either side of it are going to go forward. So it should be able to find itself a nice spot. Hopefully, Willow can just track in behind. I still think $2.25 is an okay price. So I'd be willing to take that. In for second, I do have number 8, Thunderdome. I thought its effort at Warrnambool was fantastic last start. It really got passed by Tower Road from Danny O'Brien's stable, and it kept kicking. It really found the line well late, considering it probably had no right to. So I think it's in some good form, and it has soft track form. 4 starts, has had 3 placings on the soft track, so I expect it to handle the soft going pretty well. And obviously, Lockie King's 2 kilo claim brings it down to immediately 54 kilos, so I really do like that. In for third, I do have number 10, Shandy. I think this horse has been in and around the mark recently, and I think it will run a good race again. As I said, been quite trustworthy as of so far. So based on that, I can see it running a good race. So I've got it in for third. In for fourth, I do have number 7 Dal Swinton for the Hayes Dabnick stable. Has had a bit of a freshen up since winning at Pakenham in a Class 1. Beat Island Dance that day. Island Dance not a bad horse. Does have the soft track form. Obviously just the one place from 3. There's a little bit of a concern, but it's been around the money this starts. Finished behind a couple of nice ones. Sweet City it finished behind at Pakenham on its first run back. It finished behind Seeming Exceed is not a bad horse. So I think you can put that in the placings as well. I think it'll run a nice race. Few outside of the mark. Look, I think Sacharo was unlucky last night. I did have it on top. The wide barrier concerns me again, but the dropping back in class. The other thing I didn't put it on top. I mean, it's never one of these tracks still, never one of this distance, so it's still a bit of a concern. Number 4, Orsian, no knock on it for Chris Waller. I thought it was a nice win at Flemington last start, but barrier 1's just a little bit of a concern, not a whole lot of speed in the race. I don't think it's going to have the favours like it had last start to come down the outside. So, so look, I'm pretty happy to have number 1 Zatori on top. In for second, I'm happy to have number 8 Thunderdome in for second. In for third, number 10 Shandy, and in for fourth, number 7 Dal Swinton. Race number 4 is the 600 metre race once again. This is an open class. Quite a nice field, this one. We're pretty confident to take number 5 Gizo. I think the rain is only going to help. It doesn't mind a soft track. Has never won on a heavy track at 5 starts. So it's a little bit of concern if it does get upgraded to a heavy next, tomorrow. But it was quite an impressive win at Warrnambool last start. I just really like that win. I think it's in peak condition, peak form, and I think it's going to run a nice race again. It's coming in a bit now, into $2.60, so a bit of a query there, but I still think it's got to be the on-topper. In for second, number 6 Carzio, I think it'll run a nice race. Look, it's been in and around some good runnings. It's a pretty consistent horse. It often doesn't miss the place. The only time it has missed the place this whole preparation was when it came 4th by an inchuary at Caufield. It carried 6.5 kilos that day. So, look, it's been around some good racing. Was a really nice second last start behind Widgie Turf. That's some good form to carry into this. So I've got it in for second. In for third, I do have number 2 Mahamadeus. I think it'll run a nice race again. It was a bit disappointing last start behind Mr. Quickie over the 2,000 metres. Comes back to the mile, which it won at beat Leopari, just held out and beat Plenciel, who obviously subsequently went on and won from there. So I do like that. It comes back to a suitable track and distance. Often we could see them. They pop up 2,000. Don't run a nice race, come back to the mile, and it will perform. So I'm really interested in that. I just couldn't put it on top ahead of Gizo. Gizo is just flying at the moment, and so is Carzio. But they're probably the top 3 in the market. I think they're the 3 to beat. In for fourth, I did have number 7 Riyadh. I think this horse can run a nice race with Peter Healy. It has soft track form, especially has heavy form as well. Thought it was quite good, finishing behind Sir Pippin last start at Caufield. I was only 2 lengths off it, and then before that was only a length off Spirit of Lager at Pakenham. It carried 62 kilos that day, so I think it'll be in the finish and it'll run a nice race. So just to recap the numbers in the 4th on the card. Number 5 Gizo on top. In for second, number 6 Carzio. In for third, number 2 Mahamadeus, and in for fourth, number 7 Riyadh. Halfway through the card, race number 5 was a 1,100 metre race for the mares. Look, it's a nice race, this one. And for me, I put number 7 Kai Zamba on top for Bill Searchy. Jim, not Bill. And the reasons being, I thought it was a nice run behind Big Real first up at Sandown, the hillside track. Really came on quite nicely, just missed out there. Second up stats superb. 4 starts, 3 wins and a placing. But the biggest thing is its wet track form. 6 starts, 5 wins and a place. That for me is elite wet track form, elite second up form. And it just ticks all the boxes. Carries 54 kilos. All right, has to step up in class probably a little bit to take on a couple of nice gallopers. But I think it's up to winning this race. So for me, I just had to have it on top. $8.50 looks just a superb price. In for second, I had number 1 Swift Sis for pack carrier. I think this is the best horse in the race. Has the wet track form, much like Kaizamba has. Before last start, went over and ran at Mornington in the Hariba Stakes. Hasn't been seen since. It's had a bit of a spell since then. With finished behind Streets of Avalon. Just didn't quite come on from the back. Comes back to, hasn't run at Caufield before, so a little bit of a query there, but it's 2 runs up the Flemington straight before that were just superb. So I think if it could return to that sort of form, it'll run a nice race again. Has to carry the 60 kilos, but I like how Pat Carey has taken Brett Pebble, the senior rider, over the apprentice. So I think he's got to be quite confident run a nice race. In for third, I did have number 8, My Biddy. I think he can run a good race as well. The Tasmanian visitor. Has gone close on 2 starts now. It was just run down late by Miss Vixen at Sandown, the Lakeside track, and was just couldn't run down. It was just beaten by Grey Shadow as well. So 2 nice runs there. I think it could peak here. Wet track form superb. Has had 6 starts on the wet track, 3 wins and a second. On a heavy going, it's had 3 starts for 2 placings. So I think it'll handle the wet track well. And I think it's really building up to that win. The wide barrier is a little bit of a concern, but if you have a look at the speed map, it should be able to get across the field. I think Kaizamba will kick up and just sit about. So I think they will both be pretty hard to run down. So I think Swift's just got a bit of work to get from the back, but I think it's got the most ability in the race. In for fourth, do have number 9, Josephine C. Probably need a bit of a luck, has drawn barrier 1, but the soft track form is elite again. So 4 starts, 3 wins and a place. Last time out, finished off nicely behind third behind Grey Shadow. So if I've got to put big My Biddy in, I've got to put Josephine C in. So and it also comes out of that big real race. So just a bit of an interesting one. Josephine C is shorter in the market than Kaizamba is, but Kaizamba beat it in that race behind Big Reel. So for me, it just didn't really make sense, the price discrepancy between them. So I've got them on top. Look, outside chances, I think LeBourne Type might run a nice race for Patrick Ryan. I think Neurotic for Danny O'Brien might run a good race as well. But yeah, I'm pretty confident the ones I got on top. Queen Annabelle, I've left it out. It's got the good first up stats, but I just was concerned that wide barrier, considering there's not much speed in the race. I just couldn't see how it would be in the finish, but I could be wrong there. But I'm pretty confident with number 7, Kaizamba on top. As I said, the wet track, elite wet track form, elite second up stats. So it just, for me, considering it might have an easy time on the lead as well, it's going to be so hard to beat. In for second, number 1, Swift Sis, just taking it on its class. If it doesn't sit too far back in the field, it's close enough in striking distance, it could definitely take it out. In for third, number 8, My Biddy, and in fourth, number 9, Josephine C. Race number 6 on the cards, 2-year-old race over the 1,200 metres. I'm taking a first starter here in number 6, Holo. I think for me, barrier 1 is going to suit it nicely. It's well bred. I think it's got a lot of speed, and I think it can win this race. I really do have a high impression of it. It's pretty solid in the market, which is good thing to see. So I think it'll prove hard to beat. I've got it on top ahead of, in terms of the race brigade, I'm looking at number 9, Moldova. I think it's just done nothing wrong for Danny O'Brien, Brett Pebble in the saddle. It's had 2 very nice wins thus far, so you can't knock it. I just thought High's got that X factor. It's got a bit of ability, this horse, in my opinion. In for third, I did have number 1, Memphis Rock. Been in racing around some good company. I think that second last up by Kui Rupp in the Group 3 Printing Breeders' Stakes at Morphettville was a really nice run. And I think Kui Rupp's got great form. It's a really good horse. I think that's good form to carry. Before that was obviously just 0.9 length off Muse at Caufield. So I've got it in for third. In for fourth, number 4, Banquo. Stephen Marsh has brought this gallop over for its debut, which is interesting. You don't often see that. New Zealand gallopers come over here for their debut. So it's a colt. It's got a wide barrier to contend with, but I'm just got a bit of intrigue out of that Written Tycoon colt. It might have a bit of ability. I think for me, that's a real query bringing it over for a first up start here in Australia. So just to recap the numbers, look, number 6, Hilo on top. I think this horse got a lot of ability for James Cummings at barrier 1. I think will suit it nicely. It's obviously a colt out of Lonhro. In for second, number 9, Moldova. In for third, number 1, Memphis Rock. And in for fourth, number 4, Banquo. Race number 7, 1100 metres, 3-year-old fillies race. Not a lot of depth this. It looks a really nice race. Look, just reading here, I did have the Commodore on top, but it looks like it might be scratched. So, if it gets the start, I have it on top. I thought that Cranbourne run was so good. It was so well back that day and did not disappoint. It was an excellent on-speed run. I think it's got so much ability. So if it runs tomorrow, the $7 odds looks quite nice. If it doesn't run, look, it takes obviously one front run out of the race. And I think with all the speed in the race, I think number 5 Wallard looks to pose a bit of value for me. Obviously, it did finish behind Graceful Storm last night. I think it can turn the tables. I've just got the feeling if it gets up to that heavy range, it has 2 runs on a heavy, a win and a place. So it does not mind the wet going. And I think maybe that might just be the key to it. So I've got Voila on top if the Commoner doesn't run, which it looks like it won't. So in for second, I do have I have number 4 Notation. I think of the on-speed runners that can run a nice race. Didn't do too much wrong last prep. Just had the one bad run up the straight. Sorry, it wasn't up the straight. It was at Flemington over the 1400 metres behind Putakawa. Besides that, didn't do a whole lot wrong. So I could see it coming back and running a nice race. In for third, I do have the favourite number 1 Propel. It should have a nice run again from the back. Has the wide barrier to deal with, but my only query is that the wet track form, as they had the one run on soft, didn't place. And secondly, for me, the form out of that race isn't great so far. I know it beat Definia. Definia was a bit disappointing during the week. And yeah, for me, $2.50 seems way too short. Look, in for fourth, I do have number 10, Bams on Fire. I think this horse for Kieran Eustace might have a bit of upside. It was a really good return of racing at Benalla. I know it's only a maiden at Benalla, but gee, 5.3 length winner was really impressive, and it's had a bit of support. So I'll take it on a bit of an interest. Runners to look out for. I do think number 14, Trilly for Jason Warren could run a nice race. Has had the one placing on wet track form. Was a bit disappointing first up. Was pretty well backed. Blinkers come on first time, which is a real intrigue. I was going to put in the numbers. I just couldn't quite get it in. It should get that run from the back, so I can see it running a nice race. And obviously, number 3, Graceful Storm, coming off a win last start, but no wet track form. That's it's had 2 starts, 0 hasn't had a single place. So that's a bit of a concern to me. Beat Thrillster, which was a real shock, but Thrillster obviously was a bit disappointing over in Adelaide. So again, bit of a query on that form too. So yeah, just to recap the numbers, number 5, Voila on top at nice odds. If, of course, the Commoner doesn't run for, for trainer Tom Hughes. In for second, I had number 4, Notation. In for fourth, number 1. In for third, number 1, Propel. And in for fourth, number 10, Bams on Fire. Race number 8, 1200 metre race, open. Yeah, look, interesting form lines for this to take out of. Looking at the speed map, there's a bit of speed in the race, which is interesting. Be interesting to see where they all sort of place themselves. I've landed on top with number 4, First Hand. It's got the wet track stats, 4 starts, 2 wins and a placing. First up stats aren't too bad. First up last start finished by Tactical Advantage, which is, for me, that's group form. Tactical Advantage going around in the Doom of 10,000 on the weekend. So for me, that's really nice form. And then it sort of finished behind, but Fell Swoop has been group placed as well. And obviously it was a Group 2 winner during the autumn. Beat Minority Curos, running some nice races. Obviously he's going around right now in a preparation. So I thought his trial was okay as well. So just taking off that wet track stats, first up stats aren't too bad. It's going to be a lot of speed in the race. I think it can come on and run a nice race. I think it can, run a good race at the $6 odds. So I've got it on top. To beat number 2, I'm Wesley over from Tasmania. Look, soft track stats are surprising for a Tasmania, not great. It's had a lot of placings on the soft. They only had the 1 win from 12, but I think it's been racing some good company. Last start was sort of run down late in the limousine. Group 3 weight for age race at Morphettville behind a Hard Empire ran it down that day. It's pretty well in the market. Before that was a bit disappointing, the Hariba Stakes at Mornington, but Prior to that, had form around Mystic Journey, Hell of a Street. So we're looking at some nice form there. I think it could perhaps return to form. Has that barrier too, so should be able to get the rail. Won't get a lot of time on the speed, but I think of the on-speed runners, I can see it running nice race. In for third, number one, Jungle Edge of the on-speed runners. This is obviously a massive wet track horse. Steps right back in class, so this could be the day for this old boy, Jungle Edge. And I think it's a huge chance to win tomorrow, especially with the rain coming down now. And in for fourth, number 8, Leonardo da Vinci resumes for Mick Price, obviously a former Weir galloper. It's had the one run on the soft ground. I just think it might need this run first up. It's obviously the class horse of the race. But I just think it might need this run first up, going forward into its preparation before you can put it on top. So for me, I did stick with number 4, First Hand. I got a massive interest in it. Good first up. The first up stats aren't too bad. Fantastic soft track form. So I've got it on top to beat number 2 on Wesley. In for third, number 1, Jungle Edge, and in for fourth, number 8, Leonardo da Vinci. Last race of the card, 800 metre race, benchmark 84 for the mares. Yep, the mares. And for me, on top in this race, look, we'll just have a look at the speed map first. A lot of speed in this race, absolute ton of them that will go forward. So in that case, I've gone with number 13, Birth of Venus. I think it's time to win for Chris Waller. Soft track form has had one start on both the soft and the heavy track, has a place, but again, coming over from Ireland, I do tend to find that they run quite well on the wet going, generally when they run here in Australia. And I thought it's, barnstorming finish by Grinzinger's Star last start was really good. It was a very good effort, and I think it's ready to go now, fourth up. Interesting to step back from 2,000 back to 1,800 metres. That's a real intrigue to me, but I think it'll have the class and it should be able to get all the favours to come on from the back and win. If a second, I had number 2, Araja, which is a Chris Waller horse. Third up into this preparation, was quite good chasing behind Temple of Bell last start. Wet track stats aren't too bad, so I think from back, again, like I mentioned with Birth of Venus, Araja will run well from the back, I think, as well. Of the odds pace runners, I do think, number 11, Silent Roar, can return to form. It was a little bit disappointing going as a favourite last start to Auto Huing at the Sandown track. Before that was really quite impressive in its runs. I think it's got a bit of ability, and I'm happy to have it in for third. In for fourth, I do have number 1, Think Blue. I think of the on-pace runners, it's got a bit of class to it. Obviously stepping back in grade, finished by 4 lengths off Widgie Turf last start, but prior to that at 1, being Remember the Name, who it faces again here. Interestingly, you look at the weights, Think Blue carries 59 and Remember the Name carries 55, and on that day, Remember the Name carried 54.5 and Think Blue carried 56. Carried 56. So for me, a bit of a weight swing there, 56.5 to be precise, but yeah, I just think of the on-pace run, I think Blue might just have a little bit in the tank, and also has a bit more form on the wet track than what Remember the Name has. So just to recap the numbers, number 13, Birth of Venus on top. In for second, I have number 2, Araja. In for third, number 3, in for third, number 11, Silent Roar. And in for fourth, number 1, Think Blur. So that's the preview of the card at Caufield tomorrow. If you're following, good luck. As I said, keep an eye out on the track rating in the morning. See those upgrades to the heavy. I think there's a good potential of it happening, but most of the form's been done around, obviously, the best horse of the race, speed maps, but also the wet track. I have kept that in mind for tomorrow. So good luck tomorrow if you're following. Thanks once again for the support. Keep an eye out for the videos if you're playing on either Scone, Doomben or Morphettville tomorrow. So good luck tomorrow, punters, and thank you once again.